Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you are excited about your upcoming trip to Scandinavia. We just wanted to reach out to everybody to give them a little bit of information about what to expect while on the tour, what you may want to pack and bring with you, and to answer any of those pre-tour questions that you may have. I will try to answer any questions that you may have at the end of the presentation. I try to include some of the questions that we had from the registration form in the realm of the presentation, but if for some reason I don't get to it or something like that, or you think of something in between, there is a chat function down in the bottom right-hand corner, and you can send those questions to me and I will answer those at the end. If for some reason you need to step away from the computer or your tablet or something like that, I will be sending a copy of the presentation to everyone that registered after the live presentation today, so no worries about that. I will go ahead and just apologize ahead of time. I have a sore throat this morning, so if I suddenly go silent, it's probably because I'm coughing, but I will try not to cough in your ear. Anyway, so let's get started. Before you head off to Scandinavia, like I said, we wanted to talk to you to just answer some questions that you may have before you leave to go overseas. At the end of the presentation, I'll open up for any additional questions. If you had a question that's related to a specific tour, I may not cover that online today, but we will follow up with you afterwards to make sure that your questions are answered. So let's get started. My name is Amanda Hancock, and I'm the manager of sales and marketing for Brekke Tours. If you have any questions that you think of 20 minutes after the presentation is done, because that's the way I usually do it, you may find answers to what you're looking for in your helpful hints, which can be found online at the little address down here. It's directly on our website. And then you'll also receive a copy of the helpful hints in your final travel documents. So two places other than myself. But you are more than welcome to call our office or send us an email, and we are happy to answer questions that you may have. So a few weeks before you depart on your trip to Scandinavia, you can expect to receive a packet of information from our office. You can expect one packet of information per couple. In the package, you will find the following: a departure letter with some basic information pertaining to your specific tour, a final tour itinerary, your final flight itinerary if you purchase airfare with us, luggage tags, tote bag, contact information for the hotels you'll be staying at while on tour, a copy of the helpful hints, and any additional information that may pertain to your particular tour. And some of you that are leaving here within the next couple of weeks, you may have already received yours. If you haven't, like I said, you can expect to receive those about 1 to 2 weeks before you depart. So they're mailed about 2 to 3 weeks before you depart. So you should expect to receive them 1 to 2 weeks before you leave. Now, some documents are more important than others. For instance, please double check to make sure that your passport is valid for at least 3 to 6 months after your return date, and that you have a copy or two of your passport. Be sure to pack your passport and a copy in your carry-on. You may also want to leave a copy of your passport with a family member or friend, which can be sent to the U.S. Embassy in case your passport is lost or stolen while overseas. If you'd like to speed up the re-entry process when returning to the U.S., we recommend downloading the mobile passport app to your smartphone. The service requires a small fee per account and takes a few minutes to enter the required information, but it will save you time when going through U.S. Customs. I actually just did this last week. Everybody that was getting off the plane was heading to the U.S. Customs line. We went right up to the agent because it's a separate line. We were like the first ones waiting at our luggage to get our luggage in Chicago. Unfortunately, one of our bags was one of the last to get off the plane, so it didn't speed that process up any, but it did save us time having to wait in line through the customs agents and that sort of thing. So especially if you have tight connections, it's a great time saver. So the instructions are really easy. You just download the app, you visit the app store, download it to your phone, follow the instructions. You do have to enter your payment information for the fee. I think it's about $15 a year. So it's fairly inexpensive and just really easy. So continuing on with your airline moments to ensure that the name listed on your airline ticket matches your passport name. And this includes your first, middle, and last name. You may also want to keep a copy of your airline receipt to ensure that your miles are credited to your account. Now, the airlines are responsible for crediting your points to your frequent flyer account. So if your account balance is incorrect, please contact the airlines directly. And finally, if you have services with us, say a pre or post-tour stay, please review your documents before departing the U.S. and contact us immediately if you notice any errors or if you have any questions. Please note that the vouchers will have emergency contact numbers in case you need assistance while traveling. And finally, please be sure to note any special instructions on your vouchers. And for instance, train vouchers must be exchanged for an actual ticket before getting on the train. Now, on the land portion of your tour, we allow one suitcase and one carry-on per person. Luggage handling at hotels is provided um, for most tours and at most hotels. For one, possess your luggage will be the case and your carry-on. You also want to put a label with your name, address, and phone number inside your luggage in case your tag becomes separated. Now, most airlines do allow one free piece of checked luggage on international flights. If you have any domestic tickets booked in conjunction with your international flight, the airlines may charge a baggage fee. So you may want to check. Now, typically your checked luggage can weigh up to 50 pounds and the dimensions cannot exceed 62 inches. A standard large roller bag is what we recommend. And for your carry-on, typically the weight cannot exceed 22 pounds and the dimensions should not be over 45 inches. And that's length plus width plus height. Because luggage fees and restrictions vary from airline to airline, we've listed the websites here so that you can contact the airlines directly for more information. And you can refer back to this in the recording later on if you need some help finding exactly where to go for that information. Now, inside your suitcase, you may want to pack the following. Casual clothing is appropriate for all of our tours. For the nights that we have dinner included, you may want to bring slacks and a nice shirt or blouse, as Scandinavians do like to dress up for dinner, but it is optional. Clothing that can be layered is recommended as temperatures can change depending on your travel during the day. I know just recently in Iceland, got up in the morning, was wearing shorts, and then by the afternoon we were freezing our heinies off, so we were wearing jackets with our shorts. So the weather can change quite dramatically depending on where you're traveling. Norway, Sweden, Denmark, they're pretty much the same. So good walking shoes are a must, as sightseeing along cobblestone streets and walking in the mountains of Norway is not really the place for heels and flip-flops. A raincoat with a removable lining is a good choice, or you may want to bring a rain poncho. A light coat or jacket may be necessary in the morning and during the evening. You may also want to bring a swimsuit if you plan to enjoy any of the pools or spas at the hotels. And finally, leave your valuables at home. If it will create an emotional or financial hardship, it's best just to leave it behind. Now, in case your luggage is delayed, I recommend packing a change of clothing in your carry-on bag. And if you're traveling with someone, put some of your clothes in their suitcase and vice versa, in case one bag is delayed. Now, if you're planning to visit family or friends in Scandinavia, you may want to bring a small gift, especially if they're extending their hospitality in some way. Appropriate gifts include an American flag or windsock, books, calendars, caps, t-shirts, or other items unique to your city or state, college or professional clothing or caps, Native American or country and Western themed items, liquor or liqueurs, And then for children, Disney clothing, candy, puzzles, or cartoon characters are always popular. Some other items you may want to pack include an extra memory card or batteries for your camera, snacks and a refillable water bottle, washcloths. A lot of hotels in Scandinavia do not provide washcloths. So if you're like me and at the end of the day you want to wash your face, that would be something that you'd want to bring from home. Tissues, sewing kit or safety pins, medication, and this includes prescription and over-the-counter. Aspirin is, Tylenol, things like that can sometimes be difficult to find, so it's always a good idea to just bring your own. Band-aids or a first aid kit is also a good thing to have. A converter and or an adapter, and we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in just a minute. Sunscreen and sunglasses, extra eyeglasses or a repair kit, and including extra contacts and solution is a good idea as well if you wear contacts. Maps and travel information, spot removers such as a Tide stick or wipes, inflatable pillow and an eye mask, umbrella or a poncho, a journal to record your favorite memories of the day, a small day pack for sweaters, camera, snacks, and water, and then plastic bags. These are great if you've gone swimming and your swimsuit hasn't quite dried out yet. You can put that in your suitcase and it doesn't get all of your other clothes wet. Now, the climate in Scandinavia is very similar to that in the northeastern United States, though rarely as hot in the summer or as cold in the winter. Although last year it was pretty warm in Norway, so these average temperatures may not necessarily apply depending on what's going to happen this summer. But average daytime temperatures for June, July, and August range from the 40s to the mid 60s, depending upon your region of travel. It is always a good idea to check the weather forecast before you depart US. Now, the world runs on two types of electricity, 110 volt or 220 volt. North American devices typically run on 110, while the majority of the world runs on 220. Now, if you need an adapter, basically it just changes the plug. So it changes from our up and down flat prong plug to the round prong plug. And that would only work if your device is dual voltage. So it has to work with 110 and 220. To find out that information, you need to look on your device. And so the label may be affixed directly to the back of your device, on the AC transformer box of the power supply lead, so the little box that you plug into the wall, or molded into the plastic on the plug. It's often very small and difficult to find, so you may have to hunt a little bit. So if your device is only 110, then you will need a converter, and that is the larger, heavier box, and it often comes with the different adapters. Typically, those can run from about $25 to $30 on Amazon. So those are a little bit more expensive, whereas the adapters are about $3 to $5 a piece. So just be sure and check before you leave the US. Most hotels will have a hair dryer, but if you're like me and use a hair straightener, you may want to check and see that it's dual voltage, and if not, you will need the converter. Most laptops, cameras, cell phones, things like that, most of them are dual voltage, but again, you may just want to double check just to be sure. You don't want to get over there and fry your electronics, so that would create a bad time for everybody. Now, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and Iceland each have their own currency known as the kroner, and in Finland they use euro. The currency of the 5 countries are not interchangeable. So if you are traveling, say you're traveling to Norway, but you're doing an Iceland stopover, you will have different forms of currency in Iceland and in Norway. Now, the easiest place to exchange your money is at the arrival airport. So if you're arriving in Oslo, you can exchange money there. You can also exchange money at banks and some post offices. Your tour director can assist with locating an exchange desk or an ATM upon your arrival in Scandinavia. You'll find that most major credit cards, such as Visa, MasterCard, and in some larger stores, American Express, are honored. Most hotels nowadays are credit card only, and cash is becoming not as widely accepted as you think. So even street vendors, taxis, they all take credit cards now. So credit cards are very easy to use overseas. The one thing you will want to make sure is that it has the chip and that you have the 4-digit PIN associated with your credit card. And to get that information, if you don't have a PIN, you would need to contact your bank, or your credit card company. So if you are contacting them, or even if you're not contacting them, you will want to call them before you leave the U.S. to let them know that you will be traveling and to expect some charges from overseas during your particular travel period. This will prevent them from suspending your card when it appears that suspicious charges are being made. We also recommend making a photocopy of the front and back of your card to leave behind with someone at home who can assist in the event your cards are misplaced, lost, or stolen. ATMs are readily available in larger cities. We don't recommend taking traveler's checks just because they're not as widely accepted anymore. Now, while you're out shopping, if you are trying to figure out how much this is going to be in US dollars, you can take the currency, such as Norwegian kroner, and divide by 8 to get the approximate US dollar amount. Swedish kroner also by 8, Danish kroner 6, and then Icelandic kroner 100. And then with euro, you want to multiply by 1.1 to get the approximate US dollar amount. Now, for those of you that are planning to fly out of Minneapolis, you may be interested in our Park and Fly special in conjunction with the Hyatt Regency Bloomington Mall of America. It's near the South Airport entrance, and rates start at $135 per night, and that includes a king or a 2-queen bedded room. It also includes 10 free days of parking. If you need more nights for parking, then that can be purchased. I think it's $10 a night or something like that. It also includes a shuttle to the airport and the Mall of America. If you'd like more information or to book a stay, please contact our office and we'll be glad to set that up for you. Now, if you are flying with our groups on Iceland Air, there are 2 terminals at the Minneapolis St. Paul International Airport. There's Terminal 1, which is Lindbergh, and Terminal 2, which is Humphrey. Now, Iceland Air serves Terminal 2, so if you have a domestic flight arriving into Terminal 1, there is free transportation between the 2 terminal buildings, and you might want to check out our helpful hints for more information on that. Now, all Iceland Air flights will route through the Keflavik Airport in Iceland. Passengers arriving on Iceland Air and continuing on will need to show their passport at customs before heading to the gate for the next leg of your flight to Scandinavia. This is a really easy process. I know it kind of sounds scary for those of you that maybe are traveling outside the US for the first time, but it's really easy. You just kind of follow the arrows and the signs. They're in English, so it's easy to do. You'll just follow the masked people anyway. You'll show your passport. It's a quick, easy process. They'll ask you, where you're going. It's a 2-second thing. They'll stamp it, and then you move on, and you'll go to your next gate. So really, it takes about 30 to 45 minutes to go from gate to gate. So it's a really quick and easy process. You will have to switch planes, but as long as your bags are checked all the way through to your final destination, whether it be Oslo, Bergen, Stockholm, wherever, you will not have to collect your luggage. So just be sure when you check in, wherever you're departing from here in the US or Canada, that your luggage is checked all the way through. The only reason you would want it to stop in Iceland is if you are taking advantage of an Iceland stopover. So that would be the only way you'd want to collect your luggage in Iceland. The rest of the time, it should go all the way through. Now, on Iceland Air, you can expect free in-flight entertainment. Headphones are for sale, or you may want to bring your own. You'll receive complimentary water, soft drinks, tea, and coffee. There is a selection of food for sale, or you can bring your own. So there are no complimentary meals or snacks on board the aircraft and in the economy section. Now, if you're flying in Saga class, you will receive a meal, but if you're in economy, you will not. So you may want to pick up something at the airport before you leave, or you can purchase something on board. For those of you that had requested a window or an aisle seat on your tour application, we did send those requests to Iceland Air or your airline um, in order to get the best seat available. But we can't guarantee that the airlines will not change or cancel your seats after the request is made. And I can guarantee you that it happens. It happened to me just recently. I had upgraded and I got stuck at the back of the plane. It just, they changed planes, they changed seats. There's no guarantee. I wish we had more control of the airlines, but unfortunately, we do not. So, exit row seating and bulkhead seating will not be able to be pre-assigned before check-in. Bulkhead seating is reserved for people with small children or people with disabilities. You must be able to operate the emergency door to sit in the exit row, and they will determine that upon check-in. So if you do get to your gate and if you want to check and see if bulkhead or exit row seating is available, that would be the place to ask, or when you check in. So if you need wheelchair assistance or an electric cart for transfers at connecting flights, we can request that. But you'll want to re-verify that at the airports when checking in. So when you check in at the airport, you'll get your boarding pass, and then if you do need that extra service, please confirm that that will be available for you. Some tips on how to avoid jet lag. Now, if your flight arrives in the morning, try to sleep on board. And if you're like me, you have trouble sleeping, try over-the-counter sleep aids. You may also want to bring an eye mask, earplugs, and a blanket or pillow if that will help you sleep. Bring a toothbrush and anything else that's not, a liquid or gel over 3 ounces that you need to help freshen up before getting off the plane. Wear loose-fitting clothing and comfortable shoes, and try not to take your shoes off as feet occasionally do swell during long flights. When possible, walk up and down the aisle to stretch your limbs and get your blood circulating. Drink plenty of water on the plane. Avoid alcohol, caffeine, and carbonated drinks. And avoid wearing contact lenses in flight because the cabin air tends to dry them out. And if you tend to get airsick, drink a small bottle of ginger ale before boarding and pack a newspaper in your carry-on bag. The ginger ale will help calm your stomach, and so will the smell of the newspaper. After arrival, spend a lot of time out in the sunlight. This will help your body reset its natural time clock to coincide with your new surroundings. Now, if you are arriving on our group flights, and transfers are included for our group flights. So after deplaning and collecting your luggage, you'll proceed through passport control. You'll see 2 exits, green if you have nothing to declare and red if you have something to declare. So you'll choose the appropriate exit, and then after leaving the customs area, you'll continue to the arrival hall, and this is where you'll meet your tour director. And usually they'll be standing there holding the nice little Brekke sign so that you know that you are in the right place. If you're arriving on a different flight than our group, or if you are arriving early, something like that, you are welcome to join our transfers if the arrival time is similar. Please just send us a note, let us know what flight you're on, and we'll let your tour director know to expect you. If for some reason your flight is delayed, you would then be responsible for your own transportation to the hotel. Now, if your flight doesn't coincide with our group transfer, there are a variety of transportation methods to get from the airport to the hotel. Airport buses with frequent departures run from the airport to the city center in each of the Scandinavian capitals. Taxis and trains are also available from the airport to the city center in most cities. If you are taking a bus or a train, typically they go to a central station within the city center. From there, it may be necessary to take a short taxi ride to your hotel. But if you have any questions about that, please let us know. We are happy to provide you instructions and a little map on how to get from point A to point B. So you would then meet the group at dinner that night at the hotel. The dinner time is listed on your departure letter, so it's very important that you read that letter. And I recommend referring to your helpful hints booklets for more information about transfer options at the various airports. Now, the first thing you may notice when you check into your hotel room is that it's quite a bit smaller than what we expect here in the US. and not all of them have air conditioning. So all the hotels used on our itineraries do have private bathrooms, though, with a shower or a tub, a toilet, and a sink. So you won't have to go down the hall to use a bathroom, but you may be a little bit more cramped than what you're used to. So if you do get to your room and think there's a fuse blown when the lights and TV don't turn on, you just need to look around for a little box. Many hotel accommodations in Scandinavia will use key cards that you not only use to access your room, but for electricity as well. There's typically a box at the entrance of your hotel room where you can slip your key card in and control the consumption of energy. It's a great way to save power, but for us Americans, we're not exactly used to that, so sometimes it takes a little hunting to find that little box, but usually it's right next to the light switch and it's pretty obvious. So some hotels in larger cities will have a guest laundry room or offer cleaning service at an additional cost. For more information on these services, please ask the front desk staff. Nearly all hotels offer internet access in their lobbies and at a computer station, and most hotels nowadays are offering wireless Wi-Fi connections as well in the rooms. So if for some reason you don't have Wi-Fi in your room, check with the hotel. Like I said, most of them will have at least a computer station set up so you can use the computer or send an email, something like that. If you do have some time on your own and you want to set off and explore, first grab a business card or map from the front desk. In case you get lost, you can use the business card to ask for direction, and using the map, you will soon find your way back to the hotel. And most of the time, you will find a hairdryer, clothes iron, or a pants press, along with shower gel, shampoo in your room. However, if for any reason these things are missing, you can call down to the front desk and they'll bring the items to you. So, some physical expectations that I just want to make you guys aware of. Most days on tour will start with a departure from your hotel between 7:30 and 9, depending on the day's activities. A breakfast buffet is served each morning at the hotels, so you'll want to be sure and reserve some time for eating before departure. Your guide will advise each evening on the next day's departure time. So before usually everybody gets off the bus and heads to their room, he or she will let you know, we're leaving tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. Please be sure and have your luggage outside your room at 7, and all that sort of stuff. So they'll give you instructions on what to do. You can expect to arrive at your hotel around 6 p.m. Each night, sometimes earlier. On travel days, you can expect several stops to allow for restroom breaks and sightseeing activities. While most tours are leisurely, you can expect to walk short distances each day and sometimes over uneven terrain such as cobblestones. You will need to be able to climb steps in and out of the bus, and restrooms can sometimes be located in lower levels of buildings, and sometimes there are no elevators. So just want to point out this issue in case that's going to be a problem for some people. If assistance is needed, we ask that you bring a qualified and physically able companion to assist you. You can, of course, just, opt out of any of the activities while on tour. We leave that at your discretion. Motorized scooters are not suitable for any of our escorted tours. And because we unfortunately can't control the universe, things do happen that are sometimes beyond our control. We've had rock slides blocking roads. We've had accidents, that are causing delays along places. So sometimes things just happen. And if you do need assistance, here are a few helpful tips. First, ask help from your tour director. From lost luggage to finding a good place to eat, your tour director is there to help ensure that your vacation is as carefree as possible. If you happen to leave your phone behind in your hotel room, need an injury seen by a doctor, or have something stolen, your tour director can be a huge asset in getting you the help that you need. Now, if you're on your own or you haven't met up with your group yet, seek help directly from the source, whether it be the airlines, hotel, or car rental agency. Now, if you're lost, ask locals for help. Most Scandinavians speak English fluently, and you will find that most are willing to lend a hand if asked nicely. If you really need assistance right away, be sure to know how to place a call while you are in Scandinavia and what the local emergency numbers are. And these are located in your helpful hints booklet, so it's definitely something that you want to be aware of. If your passport goes missing, know where the U.S. Embassy is located so you can immediately start the process of getting a new one. And finally, be adventurous. Don't let one bad thing ruin what could be a great trip. Just think of all the stories you can tell everybody back home. And then finally, we just threw in some random tips that didn't really fit with anything else, but some things that we wish that we had known before traveling to Scandinavia for the first time. And first and foremost, save your poor toes and step over the threshold as you enter your hotel room. Many thresholds in Scandinavia are raised, and you'll find yourself stumbling if you are not careful. Also, be cautious when getting in and out of bathtubs in Scandinavia, as they tend to be taller than the counterparts that we have in the US. Now, after finishing a great meal, you might find that your waiter or waitress just keeps coming back to check on you, but never brings the check. So if you find this happening to you, just kindly ask for the check and soon you'll be on your way. And speaking of eating out, tipping in Scandinavia is not typical, as many restaurants will include a service charge in your bill. You can leave a few kroner, you can round up to the next 5 or 10 for your waiter or waitress if they were attentive, but leaving a 20% tip is not necessary. Now, have you ever gotten to your hotel room and noticed that your shampoo has just exploded all over your clothes? If you haven't, then I can tell you it's no fun. I would pack your shampoo, conditioner, soap, and any other liquids in a Ziploc bag in your suitcase just in case of any disasters. You may also want to bring a small bit of soap to hand wash any items you may want to rewear while traveling. Sometimes a little bit easier than hauling a big load of laundry down to the guest laundry services. If you're at a hotel for a couple of nights, when you arrive, just wash something out, hang it up over the shower rod, and it should be dry before you leave. Um, Another handy tip, the one that we cannot stress enough, is to call your bank or credit card company before you leave the US to let them know where you are going, for how long, and to expect some charges to show up. The last thing you want to have to worry about on your trip is how you're going to pay for things. Pack 2 days or so before you leave. This will give you a chance to hopefully catch anything you might have missed. And finally, pack some snacks to take along with you. Granola bar, trail mix, etc. You can use this space to bring home the items that you've purchased along the way on your way back. So here are some questions that were submitted on the registration form. So I just wanted to answer those real quick, and then I will open it up for your questions that you submitted on the chat. So how much money should I bring? This is such a hard question to answer because it depends on a number of things, such as the length of your stay, the extent of your travels, and last but not least, your shopping and sightseeing plans. Most of our tours include breakfast and dinners during your trip. Lunches, however, are typically left up to you. You can expect to spend $5 to $15 for lunch in Norway, for instance. But if you eat a large breakfast and bring a snack with you and eat a decent dinner, you'll find that you won't really be needing lunch that often. Other expenses are usually of a personal nature. Laundry, drinks at dinner, taxis, gratuities for the driver and guides. I would just kind of estimate. I know, like in Iceland, I got 15,000 kroner at the airport, and then before we left, I had 4,000 kroner left. So I only spent about 10,000 kroner, and that was mainly for tips. Everything else I used credit cards for, so really didn't need a lot of you know hard cash. So like most vendors now take credit cards from the hot dog stand down to the hotel. Credit cards are widely accepted. So again, it's important to call your credit card company before you leave to let them know that you'll be gone. You may also want to ask them if they charge any foreign transaction fees and what those are. Depending on the fees, you may want to choose a different credit card that may have a lower fee or none at all. So something to consider. One thing I do recommend is bringing a bag of snacks for your trip. Like I said, energy bars, granola bars, that sort of thing. And also pack an empty water bottle. The tap water in Scandinavia is perfectly safe to drink, and you can save $2 to $3 on a bottle of water just refilling your own each day. And then on the way home, you can use that bag to store your souvenirs. Should I exchange money before leaving the US? If your bank can exchange US dollar into kroner or euro, then it may not be a bad idea to bring some money along, not a whole lot. I wouldn't bring a whole lot. I would contact your local bank first to determine if they have kroner or those on hand, and if not, can they acquire some? You may also want to inquire if there are any fees and what the rate of exchange would be. You can compare this to the market value to see if you're getting a good rate of exchange. Another option is to use an ATM once you arrive in your arrival airport. So, how do I recognize others on the tour? So, after you get off your plane in your arrival city, the easiest way to spot other Brekke tour participants is to look for a Brekke tote bag or a luggage tag. We made our tags bright for a reason, since they are easy to spot. Not only will it help you easily locate your luggage, but it'll help you locate potential friends while on tour. If you decided to book a pre-tour extension, the easiest place to meet your group is dinner the night the group is scheduled to arrive. So you should receive the time to meet your group for dinner in your information packet. It's on your departure letter. Typically, it's around 6:30 or 7. Should I bring a cap and mittens? Now, personally, I prefer the chance to be warmer than colder. So if your tour includes time on a boat, which most of them do, or treks up north or into the mountains, it's certainly not a bad idea to pack some warmer clothing. You can always take a layer off if you're too warm, but if you're cold and let those items at home, then you are just out of luck. Are seats assigned on the motor coach? No, actually, we ask everyone on our tours to switch seats on board so that everyone gets a chance to sit where they want. Now, if you are prone to motion sickness, that sort of thing, typically we try to leave a few seats up in the front for those passengers that have that experience, so they can see out and hopefully enjoy their ride a little bit more and prevent any sickness. So. Do my medications need to be in a pharmacy labeled bottle? Now, the TSA currently does not require passengers to have medication in prescription bottles. However, I would recommend taking a copy of your prescription or snap a picture of your pharmacy label so that you have it in case you um, happen to knock your pills into the toilet or flush some down the sink or something like that. Um, you might also want to bring a few extra pills. So it's always a good idea to just to have a few extra. But if you do want to use one of these little pill minder bottles or whatever, that's fine. I've taken those. I've taken my prescription bottles. I've done both and never had any problems. So just be sure and pack those in your carry-on. Do not pack those in your checked luggage. Can I use my phone in Norway? Unless you have an international plan, your phone will probably not work overseas. You can contact your carrier about an in plan and see what that would cost. However, there are ways to make calls back home when you are connected to Wi-Fi, either through FaceTime, Skype, or another of the video chat applications. I would recommend downloading them to your phone and trying them out before you head overseas. So just so you kind of get a feel for how they work. Now, if you're planning to pack light and wash your clothes while you are traveling in Scandinavia, you may be in for a challenge. Laundromats are pretty scarce. Like I said, some hotels do offer laundry services, but it can be pricey. Taking items that can easily hand washed in the sink and then hung overnight to dry is a great way to keep your travel garments smelling and looking fresh. And then also there's some sprays that you can use. There's like a Downy spray, things like that, a clothes refresher, things like that. So unless you're like my two boys and completely destroy their clothes during the day with dirt and mud, you should be okay to, just kind of wash things out in the sink and hang those up to dry. Um, CPAP machines. If you are planning to fly with a CPAP machine, it is considered a passenger medical device, same as a wheelchair, so it would not be counted as part of your carry-on allowance. To bring one on board, you must submit the make and model in order to get authorization to carry it on board. This information must be entered no later than 72 hours prior to the original departure time. Now, if you are planning to bring a CPAP machine on board the plane, please send us an email and we will pass this information along to the airline. So we need the make and model, and then, of course, your name and that sort of thing. But we are happy to send that to the airlines to make sure you get approval. Somebody had asked about vaccinations, if you need any special vaccinations traveling to Scandinavia, and you do not. However, it is always a good idea to be up to date on your flu shot, pneumonia shot, tetanus shot, that sort of thing. So just normal vaccinations. Somebody had also asked about for tipping suggestions. A tipping is not included in the cost of your tour and is left to your discretion. While on tour, you can expect to have a tour director with you during your time in Scandinavia. You may also have local guides that join you for short periods of time. And these local guides are there to provide you with in-depth information into the sites and areas you will be visiting, while your tour director will provide general commentary, assist with any issues, and keep the tour group entertained throughout your journey. You will also have bus drivers that will accompany you throughout the trip. If you have been satisfied with their services, we suggest the following amounts as appropriate. So local guides, $2 to $4 per tour. The bus drivers, $4 to $6 per day, and then your tour director, $6 to $10 per day. So hopefully those tips will help you out. So I'm going to open it up now for questions that you guys are submitting in through the chat, and I want to go ahead and just put up our contact information if you need to jot that down for any reason. So let me scroll back up to the top. Um, Roland, you had asked about how much money to take and the best place to exchange kroner. Um, Again, the money thing is typically I take about $200 when I travel to Scandinavia, and I will exchange that into kroner or euro, depending on where I'm going. And that I typically come back with money. So, like I said, you really won't be spending that much. If you use credit cards most of the time. To exchange it, you can exchange that at the airport using the ATM. They also have exchange desk. Otherwise, if you have a local bank that can provide that service, that's a great option as well. And then clothing to wear, again, clothing that you can clothing that you can layer, things that are easily hand washed, that's great. Kind of the anti-wrinkle stuff is always good. And then if you do want to dress up a little bit for dinner, some slacks and a nice shirt. But most of the time, jeans and, slacks and shirts are just fine for Norway. We don't expect anybody to wear a tux or anything like that. Yes. So, Sherry, you had asked about a backpack along with a carry-on. Typically, a backpack would be considered your personal item, and then you have the carry-on bag. So that should be fine. I did notice when I was traveling on Iceland Air just recently, they did go through and measure the carry-on bags. So it's something to be aware of that you may want to limit it to the dimensions that I mentioned earlier. So. Nancy, you asked about a small roller suitcase in addition to a large suitcase. Typically, the bus does have room for both bags underneath. I have not seen where we've ever run out of room, but as soon as I say that, we will run out of room because that's the way the universe seems to work. But typically, there is room if you have a larger carry-on bag that can be stored. There is also space on the bus where you can put things overhead. It's kind of like a small overhead bin. For purses, backpacks, sweaters, that sort of thing. So you do have some space on board the bus as well, so you don't have to hold those items. Marianne, you asked about your passport expiring 8 days after you return. Ugh, that's really tight. I would maybe recommend renewing that before you leave. So just because the TSA does get a little crabby sometimes about coming. It's not so much going to Norway or Scandinavia, wherever it is over there you happen to be going. It's more the TSA when you come back to the U.S. So um, if if you want to give us a call on that, we can talk to you about that a little more in detail. But depending on when you are traveling, if it is possible, I would say renewing that would be a good idea, just so you don't have any headaches or worries about that. um, $6 in kroner would be about, let's see. We had Sandy asking what $6 would be in kroner. So it's about 48 kroner, maybe 50, something like that. So I just multiplied that by 8 just to kind of get an idea. So, and then you ask if credit card pins were essential. Um, Sometimes they are not. I discovered that depending on what the vendor requires, you may need a pin. So when I was just in Iceland, when we were filling up the cars with gas, the machine asked for a pin number for the credit cards, but when I was buying a souvenir, they did not. So it really just depends on the vendor, but it's always a good idea to have that handy just in case you need it, or if you have a debit card that you can use, because most debit cards nowadays are credit cards too. So it's just a good idea to have that information so you're not stranded somewhere with no way to pay for whatever it is you want. So all right, if we have any other questions, hopefully I answered the ones that you guys had asked so far. We still have a few minutes, so please feel free to send those questions in. And if you're like me, you think of something like 10 minutes after the conversation ends, you are more than welcome to contact us, either our phone number that's up here on the page, or send us an email. We are happy to answer those questions. And again, a lot of this information is in the helpful hints booklet that you will receive in your final document. So it's really a good idea to read through that little booklet. I know it seems like it's a lot of information, but there's a lot of good information in there. And if you are traveling outside the U.S. for the first time, it can help you, kind of know what to expect and what to look for. But doesn't look like anybody else had any questions. So I did my job and I answered all the questions. Nobody had any worries, no questions, so good. But if you do have, like I said, if you do think of something later, please give us a call, send us an email. We are more than happy to answer those questions. I will be sending you an email with a copy of the presentation so you can review it later. And then if you happen to think of something later on, that's when you can contact us, and you can look forward to receiving that packet of information from us in the mail to you about 1 to 2 weeks before you depart. If for some reason you are leaving early or want to have your documents a little early, please call us, let us know so that we can make a note, and we are happy to help you out with that. And if that's it, then I will just go. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I hope you all have a wonderful time in Scandinavia, wherever your travels may take you. I know we have a lot of people on our tours, so I'm hoping that you will enjoy your trip. You will enjoy your guides. We have some great guides, our tour directors, and we have great guides too. And our bus drivers are great. So we always get lots of compliments on them. And good weather, happy travels, safe travels, and we all look forward to hearing about your adventures when you return. So thank you very much for joining us again, and have a wonderful rest of your day.